you have a change of heart, wanna make a brand new start. You've been living on the edge with forever as a pledge. No more giving it up, turning me loose, setting us free. Baby, keeping it real, cause we got what takes for sure. There's no turning back anymore. Can you see it's all a game? Life goes on all the same. If at first you don't succeed, all you've got is all you need. If you believe, then stake your claim.
Hey, Rise and Thrivers. Welcome to the second Monday in August of 2025. It is August 11th, and we are Rise and Thrive together, and excited that you are here with us. In case you are new about Rise and Thrive Together, we are a vibrant community that is committed to educate and empower and equip you to get the results that you want through real talk, and then you take those real actions so you can get those real results now. So just going to jump right into it. I am so excited, so much happening, and I am excited to welcome my favorite partner in crime. Hello, sis. How are you today?
Hey, Rise and Thrivers. I thought you were so excited that you forgot all about me here.
Never.
So, for those of you that are just joining us today, our topic for, the month of, what are we in, August, is mental fortitude. I don't know why I seem to be losing my voice now, but I'm going to keep going with it as long as y'all are all right. I'm all right. When you hear me then you know I've lost it. So silly. I am. Mental fortitude. Now, you joined us last week as we were discussing what that is, what it looks like, and what it takes to have mental fortitude. And it's more than just, it's not really about ignoring your emotions, but it's feeling your emotions, but not taking permanent residence in them. Okay, does that make sense? Now, we have a guest coming on. He is having some technical difficulties. So excited. Hope he gets on so that we can ask, what was that mental fortitude about? Because Reg and I know struggles with technology very well, especially me. But Reg, go ahead and tell us what has been happening with you, because we've seen you posting all over social media about this surprise and what's up? What's going on?
Well, I think, sis, literally this topic of mental fortitude, it's not just grit, it's growth. For those of you that, like, Raquel said, this is really the mental fortitude is the overall, like I like to use the word stand, what I believe in, my values based on if it's a project, if it's whatever I'm up to, right? To have that come to fruition, right? Make those results happen. And so for many of you who have been following me, and if it's your first time, I have been, thanks to this amazing show and having this amazing community and having a partner like Raquel, have had on the shelf for about 4 years this children's book about the donation of, I'm losing my voice now, the donation of my kidney, and finding that way to tell my daughter, and how that came to me 4 years ago. And for the past really 2 years, when you and I discussed it when we started the show, and for 18 months, it's been in the works, going through every single step it takes, that mental fortitude to have that come to fruition. Finding the illustrator, making sure it's the correct illustrator, going through every single piece of that. And proud to say that we announced, last June that just passed, the illustrator graduated from high school valedictorian. I was excited. We were like, woohoo, book is coming, way to go. And since it's being self-published, shout out to Amazon KDP, where you can use that, it, does what it needs to do. And so we had a couple of little hiccups, and it came back and made some changes, right? And now we're at the grit, sis. We're at the grit. So the grit that's different than the mental fortitude, guys, is like what we talked about last week. Picture that you're running a marathon and you're running this long, I don't know, 5 mile, race. And you're going and you're going and going, and you've got that last like half a mile. And all of a sudden you can see that finish line the closer you're coming. But everything starts coming in. Fatigue, thirst, nobody's next to you handing out cups, legs, cramps, all of that.
So dehydration and fatigue.
Yes, all of that, right? That's the grit. What is it going to take to get to that finish line? Now, here's what Sis said. There's feelings and emotions go with that, right? That mindset, this is what we're talking about. The mental, that's the word why the mental, can truly take you out. Physically, if that is not connected physically, you can crash, burn right then and there. The mindset notices, like she says, notices those feelings and emotions, notices them, is able to take that breath, be able to, like, as you're going through it, be like, okay, I've got this cramp, I've got this thing, what do I need? And work through the mental growth and not the low vibrational growth, like there's no growth there. It's the growth. You can get to that line. Now that takes something. Now we're not saying hurt yourself. Right? We're not saying that, if you're going to hurt yourself just to get to that end of that line, is that mental really growth? Is that to look good? Is that like some kind of battle within? Because if you don't do this, you're not good. Or, oh, I posted everywhere and the world's going to, think something. That's where I'm at. So I did the book. I did the stuff. I did everything meant to do, ready to rock and roll. Everybody, so amazing. Thank you, everybody who's been like sending shout outs and everything to ready to post. And Sunday, I go to check on something. I click on something to kind of do, and it stopped everything. Like, not at the finish line. And yes, the feelings, emotions, like she said, were there. But that doesn't stop the 2 years. What that does is that grit to get to the end is not about me. It really is my bigger why. What does it take to get to that end of that line? And that why is bigger than even my daughter, who I wrote that for, but is for all children and all the people that have reached out to me, that have given me so many, like, I'm blind. I want this book. I want this to be read to the children in school. I've got a connection for you. We can get this done in Braille. Oh my goodness, you have a community where people are Spanish. I can like write this for you in Spanish. Like all of that ripple effect of the mental fortitude that's going to make the impact, boom, that's where it's going. So here's the deal. The last post that you saw, everybody, is it's in KDP review again, right? It's getting there. We have some changes and it'll go into review between today or tomorrow, and it'll take 72 to 48 hours, 48 to 72 hours, and stay tuned. But this doesn't happen by Regina. It's why the show is called Rise and Thrive Together. And it's the community and the people and the connections that you make, and not just the connections, but the relationships you build. So I am not, like Raquel said, a technology person. And so that technology came from the community around. Big shout out, Raquel knows. Big shout out to our favorite, I'd say, sub co-host, Hal Eisenberg, because he's got his books going out there, and it is because of him and his connections that he is supporting me to support the world that's out there to have this book be published. So it's back into his hands of his people and his team to make it happen. And then I had other people that literally gave me all the information so I can make it clear to Hal, make it concise so it can be done. And that is the grit and the fortitude. But I'll be honest with you guys, I literally heard that ego. I heard everything like, I'm done. I'm going to call Raquel and I'm going to say I'm done. Raquel, forget it. Not meant, like all of that, like, wah, kind of thing. That's what that was about. And it's okay. I went through those feelings alone in the car. But it's not stopping me. You got to release it safely. And then you can breathe and go, that's not the truth. And you can just sit there and say, what's the next step? And each step and each step. And literally right before I got on is when I got that text saying it's out to my guy. It should be done by the end of tonight. Let's go Three's a charm. And we'll get it up tomorrow. So stay tuned. Thank you, sis, for asking. I'm giving a big example. That is mental fortitude. There is a passion and a purpose bigger than my own. It is so much bigger. And the grit to get there. I'm not giving up, just like you're not giving up every time we do a show. But we do kind of not let those feelings and emotions. And sometimes you need to take that pause, right? Not August 11th, not today. It's a pause because, like last month, it set me up for this success beyond what I can possibly imagine. So there you go. I'm excited.
So we are excited for when it comes. Now, here's how you're going to see a little behind the scenes on this show. Sis, our guest says he's on,
Oh,
but
that's
I
awesome.
don't see him.
He's not, because he's in the wrong room. So this is
Oh.
what we're going to do. While this is live, guys, can you read the private chat, Raquel? Could
No.
you? Okay. So are you able to do if I send you anything?
No.
All right. So we're going to continue to have this conversation. And as we are right here live, I'm going to go and
So she's going to take care of business, and
Yep.
I'm going to entertain you.
Go
Okay,
entertain. Go for it.
that's what we're doing here
Yes.
on our show.
This
I
is
absolutely love it.
real talk.
Now, didn't I give you guys an assignment last week? You were supposed to talk about what's stopping you. Was that last week?
Yep.
Weren't you supposed to do some homework? Did y'all do your homework? There's the teacher in me asking about your homework assignment that y'all had to do. So we talked about mental fortitude. We defined it. It's the ability to stay steady, committed, and focused in spite of. I like to say in spite of instead of despite. For me, in spite of says no matter what, no matter what, no matter who, no matter where, how, you're doing it. So in spite of obstacles, uncertainty, or stress, right? That's what mental fortitude is. It is all about showing up on the days you don't feel like it.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing to do. Okay? But in spite of what's going on, show up. And when you show up, don't show up like you have the world of problems. You want to show up and just be yourself. That's not about denying your feelings, because you can still feel them, but the reality.
Oh, I think we even lost Raquel.
People, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay,
Whatever
great.
happened, we just lost you. Yep.
I don't know what happened. But here's the thing. When you ask people, how's your day going? And you keep walking, what is that about? So it's the same thing. It shows disinterest, right? So when you are having a moment where stress is getting the better of you, have those feelings, but leave. Don't take up permanent residence. Don't have your mail keep going there. None of that. This is about learning how to decipher what is going to be beneficial to you and what's going to hold you back. Right?
I want to know how many of you listeners, and type it in the chat, how many of you have this mental fortitude that in spite of what's going on, obstacles, stress, you stay steadfast, you stay committed. And I know, trust me when I tell you, I know it is not easy to be at that address called One Horse Town with tumbleweed, and it is always gray and cloudy. I know what that's like. But I also know that staying there is not beneficial to me. Staying there is also not beneficial to the people around me, because my attitude is going to overflow. onto them. So be honest. Come on, jump in the chat. Y'all are too quiet. Don't do that. Let's get on this. You want this mental fortitude and you want to do what it takes work. It takes you getting in action. That's what it's going to take.
And that goes perfectly with this show. The whole point is we're having real talk, guys, so that you can take some real action. And if you're unclear, like, what does she mean by like mental fortitude? What is that conversation about mental fortitude? It is about staying, like she said, focused and resilient in the face of the challenges and circumstances you're going through.
Yeah.
It includes traces like perseverance and discipline and emotional control, like Raquel was saying.
I like that. You said emotional control. Notice I never told you to deny your feelings.
Yes, right?
It's about controlling them.
Yes.
The thing is, a lot of us don't send our emotions to school to be trained. And that's what it takes. How many of you out there in this whatever world get hangry? And what I mean by that is when you get hungry, you get angry, and you don't care who you take it out on, and they should understand. And no, the heck they shouldn't. I know it well. I used to be that person. I used to be a lot of people.
Oh, yes, she was.
I used to be a whole lot of people. I no longer do that. Why? Why is being hangry? Well, how come it? Why doesn't it serve you? Curious. Reg, why doesn't it serve you? Because you raised your hand.
Oh, yeah. Listen, that because it gets you out of like the whole thing of me not eating well. I didn't nourish my body. So the brain itself is not literally being able to do the job that it needs to do. And so the wiring is all crossed, right? Then the emotion of that's just what happens. The emotional part comes out. How does that serve me? I go nowhere. Like, what am I doing? How is that anything except for expressing a whole bunch of stuff, mostly never by myself, on other people? And that really, you're talking about a whole domino effect, because then you're hurting people, right? You don't even realize it. And maybe you are, and I will dare to say, guys, we're getting real talk today. Then if you literally know that and you know you're hangry and you're going to do what you're doing anyway, like, well, sorry, Raquel, I'm hangry. That's just selfish. Like, that is not self-serving, like to make an impact and the difference. It is all about you. So what you were saying earlier, and what I was saying earlier is there's that pause, right? There's that pause. So own and be accountable for, I did not serve myself today well. I did not take care of myself. I did not give what I needed to do for myself. Oh, Ellen's jumping in. As much as it's important to take care of myself, it's equally important to take care about others. And by helping others despite of my emotional turmoil actually inadvertently alleviates my feelings. Bingo, Ellen. Boom. Wait, got to get that little sound on that one. I love it. Here we go. Ready? Go for this one. That is a bomb drop, because she's saying it's important to take care of yourself, but she also realized. So it's not like a one or the other. I really want to get that clear. It's when you can bring that mental awareness to that and understand the importance as a, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for, but like as like pillars, like to like hold yourself and others up. So she's also realizing the importance about whatever she was meant to do, which is taking care of other people. And so that then trumps everything. And that emotional turmoil, inadvertently like goes away because she has a bigger fortitude. The fortitude, really, that mental fortitude is that umbrella. And that's her umbrella. Her umbrella is to take care of others. To take care of others that she said she wanted to do. Now, not everybody's got a taking care of others, but whatever that result is, which is bigger than ourselves, right? That's great, Ellen. I love it. That's really, really, really great.
Me too.
Bomb
So
drop.
mental fortitude is not just about being strong. It's so much more than that. Okay? So I need you guys to understand that. Resilience is about bouncing back.
Yes.
Grit is about sticking with long-term goals.
Yep.
Fortitude combines both of them with
Oh,
self-awareness and adaptability.
yeah. And you know what? I just was, as you were looking up stuff, because we were both doing the research, I love this one as a comparison. It says, unlike general resilience, mental fortitude emphasizes a proactive mindset, like you said, sis, a growth mindset, and includes determination. So there's that growth mindset and determination, right? The discipline, guys, the emotional control, the ability to stay focused in the face of any challenges. And like literally what Ellen said in my last piece of research, it leads to better decision making and improved performance under stress.
Really? Improve performance under stress? Who's stressed?
Once we have that overall mental fortitude, when we have all those pieces, a controlled emotions, right? You know, having that resilience, all of those, when we have that in balance, can truly lead to extraordinary results. Sis, you've been through those, so many. You and I have like, literally, I wouldn't get to where I am today, right? Wouldn't get to where I am today without all of those pillars. I want to say they're great pillars. They're great pillars. Thank you, Genevieve. Love this topic's grit and resilience. I got to give her a big shout out. Genevieve is like one of our biggest supporters and been a longtime Rise and Thriver since the beginning. Happy early birthday! Whoop, whoop.
Oh, happy early birthday.
Yes, awesome. Oop, Joanna just jumped in. Thank you, everybody who's jumping in here. Thank you for defining mental fortitude, Joanna says, so that we know what qualities to build and the results we can achieve. Come on. She got from there, right? We're going to give a big this one for that one. Joanna. Woo-hoo. Give it up for Joanna. With that helped to do that. And Shanika's like, what's up, beautiful ladies? Oh, my goodness. We're going to stop the cheering because
we can keep the cheering. Here's our guest.
Are you ready? We're going to keep the cheering going because this is what the grit takes, guys. This is the difference. The grit takes. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Dr. Andrew Fernandez. Woo-hoo! What
Hey
up,
guys,
Andrew?
you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes,
All right.
we can hear you, Andrew. We're just having a good time. Let me read Andrew's bio. Andrew is our guest, and we thank you for pushing through all of it. So when y'all saw me looking away, I had to respond to him and still focus here. And then I was like, forget focusing here. I need to focus on our guest. But Andrew he is a physical therapist with his doctorate in physical therapy from the University of the Sciences, which is now St. Joe's University. He also did an orthopedic residency at Thomas Jefferson University. He is adjunct faculty for the Thomas Jefferson University Physical Therapy Doctorate Program, and he helps teach graduate students. He also mentors orthopedic physical therapy residents and students. His professional interests are pain, neuroscience, and education. When he's not teaching, he is playing music, disc golf, and spending time with his family. Thank you so much for joining us here at Rise and Thrive Together, Andrew. A pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
This is so perfect because loved listening to your bio. Can't wait to get into like disc golf. But you're the perfect example of what we were talking about because we were talking about the definition and the difference between mental fortitude and mental grit. And we'll be able to have you kind of share your perspective on that of all the things that you do. But really, that grit is right getting to that line, and you did it. Like you did not give up. You were like, I have a commitment. I'm on. You're reaching out. You're reaching Raquel. She's reaching to me. I'm reaching to you, and we made it. So thank you for being the prime example, guys. We couldn't plan this, right? We did not pay him to be late and to not find his way. This truly is, when we talk about real action, real talk, real results. Just that alone, we got the show.
Awesome. So, Andrew, I want to jump in before we talk about the
Hmm.
mental fortitude that it takes, both you and the patients that you serve. What the heck is disc golf?
I know. Me too. Like,
I was like, let's get serious conversation
So,
flowing here.
so that is something I got into during the pandemic. And if you told me like 6 years ago that I would get into something like that, and like I knew what it was, like I went to Rutgers for my undergrad, and there was a disc golf course on campus. Just something I never really got into or thought I was going to get into. But once COVID hit, and everybody's like social distancing, and like you're kind of really being alone. It was just one of those things that you can get out there, you can social distance, you could play for free. It's like a pretty, you could get a starter set for like $20, and it's basically just throwing frisbees in wooded courses. So there's a lot of courses around the state that a lot of people probably don't even know about. I'm from Central Jersey, so we have one in Mercer County Park. And there's also a nice one in Voorhees, New Jersey. It's called Stafford Woods, and they're all over. But basically, you go, you play for free, similar to golf, where you count like how many throws you get. But the ultimate goal is to throw it into a basket. But it's a lot of fun because you could play whenever you want. You don't have to get tee times. You don't have to pay for it. Like it's a very accessible kind of sport. And I got really into that with a coworker during the pandemic, and we were going like twice a week. But yeah, it's something I've kind of kept up with to this day. It's just a lot of fun, and it's pretty leisurely.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to check that out
me too.
and see how far away I am from the basket.
I just think of Harry Potter, like up in the sky when they're like trying to, you get.
Oh, it's not it's not quite that advanced.
I was about to say, if I get up in the sky, it's a wrap, guys. I will not be doing disc golf. But let me throw this in. We're gonna get serious for a second.
Yep.
Not at all. So when I was talking to Andrew about being a guest on the show, he asked me an interesting question. He said, "Why a physical therapist?" And of course, most people will probably be like, "Well, why not? Physical therapist?" And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Well, because it takes some mental fortitude as a patient doing PT, and also as the therapist to know when to push the client, when to move them forward. Forward meaning up in weight, more reps, whatever it is. So, Andrew, let's learn a little bit about your world of physical therapy and tell us the mental fortitude that it takes on both sides, if you can.
So, from a patient's perspective, they're coming in because they don't know necessarily what's going on with them. They know they're in pain, or they know they have this dysfunction, and they're looking for answers. And especially when you get into like the musculoskeletal kind of aspect of things, and that's why I kind of brought up pain neuroscience before, because that's really where I think a lot of my effort has been made, and a lot of advancements have been gained with my patients, just kind of understanding these concepts. So if somebody's coming to you with some pain, and let's say low back pain, because that's everybody's pretty much experienced at least one bout of low back pain. That pain can be very intense. It can be debilitating, and everybody's naturally programmed to equate hurt with harm. Ow, my back hurts. There's something wrong with it. There's something structurally, not right there. And that's kind of what we're taught. And it makes sense, it's kind of a protective mechanism. But once you start getting into how the body perceives pain, what processes are going on with that, you start to realize that there's a big disconnect between symptoms a patient feels and actual tissue damage. We know what healing timeframes are for certain tissues, and patients can feel pain well outside those tissues. Oh, I hurt my back 2 years ago when I was lifting. Okay, and it still hurts now. Anything that was really damaged during that time, any like little sprains or strains or little micro tears in muscles or whatever, that's all healed. So why are patients still in pain, right? And that's kind of what get into this whole pain neuroscience education aspect, because there's a lot more than just tissue inflammation that can cause pain. There's actually changes within the central nervous system that can sensitize patients to pain. You've heard of chronic regional pain syndrome or fibromyalgias, where this is basically just a maladaptive rewiring, for a lack of a better term, of these areas. So I try to thread that into pretty much every single one of my patient cases. Is just to kind of educate them a little bit about their symptoms, what they're experiencing, and essentially what we can do about it. And sometimes just by connecting these dots, it really helps a patient, really calm down in terms of pain. And they've actually done studies on, they've done like brain mapping studies on patients where Adrian Lowe is a big guy on this. They'll take an image of a patient's brain and they kind of do like a more of a functional one, so you can kind of see which areas of the brain are lighting up when a patient's in pain. And that's why whenever you're in a lot of pain, you don't feel like you could think straight, because there's this constant noise going on in your head, and all these different areas of the brain are active. So you could see that on a scan of somebody's brain who is in pain, and then you could compare that to somebody's brain who's not in pain. And then what they found too is after just one 30-minute neuroscience education, just kind of connecting some of these dots, that they get rescanned and they look so much more closer to a patient's pain that's not, or a patient's brain that's not in pain, which is like super interesting to me. So some of the analogies I use is like, by connecting these dots, it's like I help patients understand. But one of the analogies I use is like, okay, so you hear a noise at night, and if you've never heard that noise before, you're going to have this like visceral response. It's almost like fight or flight. Like, what was that? Is somebody breaking in? But if you have like an animal, a cat, a dog or something, and they're just either getting their food, or they're just moving around, your brain has a much different response, because there is a logical explanation for that. So just by kind of connecting some of these dots for these patients, like, listen, yeah, you're in pain, but this is what else is going on, which I could get into that, but that is, I think, like well outside the scope of this 30-minute podcast. But they calm down. They're like, oh yeah, I definitely feel better. And I just had one of my 7 p.m. patients tonight. His last session, we were talking about pain neuroscience stuff, and then when I saw him today, I was like, oh, so how you doing? Do you have any questions about what we talked about last time? And he was like, no, I think it's pretty good. And he's like, yeah, I'm actually feeling a bit better. I'm like kind of pushing through things. And so he understands his pain more, and he can push through it more, because he understands hurt doesn't equal harm. So that's just one of the many ways that we can kind of use that information to help patients kind of push forward, because it's like it's understanding where you're at, understanding why you're feeling what you're feeling, and how that makes sense. And one of the biggest things too that gets me is when people are in the old kind of ways of thinking, is like, oh, the pain is in somebody's brain. Oh, you don't have any tissue damage, so the pain's in your brain. You're making it up. It's in your head. It's like, well, yeah, it is in your head. It's in everybody's head. That's where we process pain. We don't process pain anywhere else. It's all processed in the brain. So I kind of laugh at that. I'm like, yeah, it is in your head. It's in everybody's head.
Okay, I had to give you a bomb drop, because I have to say this is the most brilliant conversation I've ever had done. If anybody is watching and hitting replay, and if you are listening to this, we literally were talking about, inside of mental fortitude, some of the definitions is talking about this emotional control. And you just nailed it with regards to everything is in our head, right? That's why it's called mental. So that whole, like, when you're out of like your mind, because it's that emotional, like, I'm hurt, oh my God. And trust me, like, I don't know. Once you, like you said, educate yourself, right? Equip yourself with the information, all of those neuro, brain synapse stuff will chill out and get back to you, like, oh, that, because we have to make it make sense, right? We have
Yep.
to make it make sense. And when it comes to pain and in our body, we go to people like you, so that, anybody looking for a physical therapist, they think that's brilliant, to make sure that your physical therapist really educates you. I love what you said. I've been to physical therapy, not a lot in my life, but I've never heard someone like you. So thank you for being an exceptional physical therapist, to really educate your parent, your patients. And that in itself is like a light switch right there. I just think that's so brilliant. I loved it.
It
So
makes sense.
yeah,
I like it, because that's why, and I've gone to PT more times than I actually want to say, when I think about it. I'm like, what the heck? Why am I always in PT? And they are. I have a great PT. She's absolutely amazing. Um,
Alina,
what
right?
I wasn't gonna give her that much credit, but
Well,
yeah.
do you know that she was my student? She was one of my students.
Really?
Mhm.
I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah.
She,
She's a great PT, and I figured she'd be a great fit for the clinic. So when she was looking for a job, I was holding out for her. Now she had her experience after me, which was like more like neuro based stuff,
mhm.
and I was just like, man, I really hope she hates it, because I wanted her
No,
to come work with me.
right. No, she is absolutely amazing. Now, I have a question. Is that why when you're doing whatever treatment the therapist is suggesting, and you always ask, is it pain or is it discomfort?
So that pain that's I mean that's more of a tough question to answer like truthfully, but like it's pain is a subjective experience by anybody. Um, and I always kind of laugh at that pain scale, like 1 to 10, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
and then how many people are just like, and maybe yourself included, it's a 20. It's more than a 10. And I'm just like, the scale only goes to 10. So
It
so
better amp up a little more.
so what I view that scale as is how concerned are you about your pain? If
Mm,
somebody says, "Oh, I'm a 20, I'm a 30, I'm a 100," it's like, okay, you're very concerned about your pain. Cool, let's talk about that. That might be a candidate that I'm gonna be like, you know what? Yeah, we're absolutely doing pain neuroscience education day one because that's what you need. Um, so it's tough to answer as a patient, and it's tough to like. But what we're looking for is how agitating is this to you? Is this
mm,
doable? So number one, I'm assessing how are you responding to the exercise or the intervention that we're giving you, and how is your body responding, like how sensitive is the nerves, because that's really what we're dealing with a lot of times in physical therapy is a oversensitization of the nervous system. So it's kind of assessing that, it's like when we bump our head or we bump our elbow or something, what do? We rub it, right? Why are we rubbing it? Well, it feels better. Well, it feels better because now we're stimulating, not just the when we bumped it, we stimulated the pain fibers in that area. When we rub it, now we're stimulating all of these other, sensory receptors that we have in the body that sense heat, temperature, vibration, light touch, deep pressure, some things like that. And then instead of this one pain signal going up to the brain, now we have several others, and it kind of dilutes that pain signal as it's going up. So, it's just kind of explaining that to the patient. And then when we're asking how does something feel, it's like, well, yeah, it's like by doing these exercises, you're essentially you're stimulating the area that's sensitive to help desensitize it, if that makes sense.
it does. I'm like, wow, I just need more hands, Andrew, to rub all the places and desensitize. Um, first place people should think I should start is here. Um, I it makes sense. It now it makes me more aware
Yes.
of, is it pain or is it discomfort? Because then in that space of time where I have to just take my mind off of the pain that I'm feeling to focus and answer a question, I'm like, it's not pain because it subsides relatively quickly. Right. So
Exactly.
in
Yep.
that space of time, I think it's kind of like when we talk about taking a pause when you
Yep.
feel overwhelmed and then going and doing whatever it is. I'm relating it to the same concept of when I have to answer the question, I have to take that pause. And then when I pay attention to the area, it's like, oh, so it wasn't really pain.
Yeah,
Interesting.
like drawing attention to an area, or even more importantly, drawing attention away from an area is kind of like a key in that rehab process too. Because I mean, I have a lot of patients that say my pain is worse at the end of the day,
Mm,
and I'm just like, okay, well that makes sense, and here's why. I had a patient say that to me a few weeks ago, and I kind of just sat down and I talked to her about pain neuroscience stuff, which basically said when you're at work, when you're in the day, you're having conversations with people, like your attention is being spread out to a bunch of different things. When you're laying in that bed at the end of the day, all the noise is kind of gone away, and all it is you're hearing kind of whatever part of your body is, yelling at you, so to speak.
Yep.
wow. I like that. We've got someone that said validating the pain is also so important that it's respected. So
Yeah.
thank you for that, Ellen. Chrissy said mindset definitely matters. Absolutely. And you are rewiring your brain. Now,
Yeah.
let me ask about that rewiring. How
Hmm.
often are we rewiring? I've got to fix my lips to say that.
We're constantly rewiring, constantly. I mean, that's how we learn. Your brain rewires itself. It makes new connections, and um, yeah. So when somebody has kind of fallen into the typical pattern of like, okay, I'm not eating right. I'm not going to be active. I'm going to stay on the couch a bunch. And you're going to stay in these postures that strain certain tissues, like maybe in your lower back. You're going to sit with, slouched posture. And now
I know,
we've
right?
re-
I'm like,
we've rewired our brain to kind of like hear that noise all the time.
yeah.
Mm.
So now these areas that weren't sensitive before are very sensitive. So we've rewired our brain in a maladaptive way to be more sensitive in this area because we're not stimulating it enough in certain ways. Another analogy I like to use is because people are like, okay, sensitization, desensitization, like what is that? Like, so I try to give like real life examples that everybody has kind of experienced. One of the ones I use is your body constantly sensitizes and desensitizes to stimuli. So we have light that comes into our eyes. So let's say you wake up in the morning, you turn on the light in the bathroom, and it's like, ooh, it's kind of bright. Your eyes have not had any light in them for hours, so they're sensitive to light. Your pupils have dilated. They're sensitive to light. The light isn't bad for your eyes. We just have to get used to it. We have to desensitize for a moment. So what do? We squint our eyes, and then we slowly open them as our eyes desensitize to that light. The answer isn't close your eyes. It's like, okay, yeah, problem solved. But it's like, no, we need to be able to see, right? So that's another analogy I like to use. It's like, all right, well, when we're introducing exercises and things that you're sensitive to that might be a little painful because this area is overly sensitive, this is kind of what we're doing. We're slowly opening the eyes. By doing nothing, by sitting on
Ooh,
the couch, we're closing the eyes, So it's like we kind of have to, and the patient's like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love it. This is amazing because, Dr. Fernandez, I'm a fitness instructor, and so I, as a responsibility of being able to ensure that each one of the people that come to class, are doing right positions, right moves. But I also kind of share stuff at the end of class, and I can't wait to use that tomorrow. Like literally, I'm going to hashtag you, credit you everywhere because it's such a beautiful example. Like you said, like we get up in the morning, that like light right away. We have to allow our body to adjust to it, desensitize to it, rather than, like you said, just sitting there and being like, okay, I'm good. You know,
exactly.
that is brilliant. Joanna wanted to say thank you, one of our longtime listeners. She loves your explanation of the neuroscience behind the pain we experience. She really needed to hear this. And that's why we have these conversations. That's why we bring guests like you on the show, because, like Raquel said, you asked why. People needed to hear this conversation tonight. So I love it.
I have a question. What if even after you give this amazing explanation, the patient is still like, yeah, nah, that's not working. I don't want to
So
hear what you're saying.
no, and that's honestly that's a great question because when I first started working at Burlington, this was like the first job I got out of PT school. I was working at this clinic, and I was doing per diem at Robert Wood Johnson in Hamilton.
Hmm.
And a lot of the patient population that I see in Burlington is like chronic pain related stuff. And then, I'm just kind of banging my head against the wall, trying to get these patients better. And I'm realized like, it's not like, I don't feel like I'm a good therapist. I feel like I'm just, I'm just kind of running through the motions. So I kind of had to separate myself from this. So I came up with like, I came up with a few concepts for myself to like, make myself feel better. And it's like, it's not my job to get everybody better. It's my job to try within the best of my ability. So by doing so, I kind of removed the outcomes that I didn't have control over, and then just kind of focused on, well, how can I show up for these patients.
Mm,
Another thing I did was really look into more like pain neuroscience education type articles, and there's one that I really like that I show all my students, all my residents. It's called Listening is Therapy, interviewing from a pain neuroscience perspective. And within that, there's this kind of subcategories. It's called the ABCDEFW model. So going to your question is like, how do I respond to this? It's like, all right, well, I need to case this patient. I need to understand where this patient is coming from, and I need to address what I can. It's not my job to get them better. It's my job to try. So A stands for attitudes and beliefs. What are their attitudes and beliefs surrounding either, their condition, what they have going on, kind of really getting into like what they think, what they believe. B is what are their behaviors? How do they manage these symptoms? Oh, my back hurts really bad, so I was in bed all weekend. Okay, so they're not really managing, they're managing it very passively. Oh, I have to take my pain medication. Okay, how's that working for you? Well, you've been doing that for 5 years. Okay. C stands for compensation issues. Was this a work-related injury? Can they not work because of this? Like, even if it wasn't a work-related, like, do they have a manual job? Like, are there, some concerns about, can I pay the bills this month? D is, and here's a big one, is diagnosis. What diagnoses were they given by any other healthcare practitioner? It's like there's a lot of fear mongering in healthcare that
Yes.
it's just, and that's stuff I have to kind of undo. So if I'm telling all this stuff to a patient and it's just glazing over and they're not believing it because, oh, the doctor said I have a herniated disc and I need surgery. It's like, okay, so I have to kind of educate. I have to talk about that. I have to figure out where they're coming from and then readjust what my education is based on that. E is emotions. That's a really big one. What emotions do they have surrounding this? Is there a high anxiety? Is there high fear? Is there avoidance? Or are they more, are they stronger? Are they pushing through this? It's like, no, I could do this. Like some of my military patients are like, nah, yeah, no, I'm good with this. This is fine. And F is family. Is there any family related, issues? Or do they have, are they being taken care of from their family? Are their family almost like overly kind of, having this like sick illness behaviors for them? Like, oh, let me get everything for you, or do they have to take care of family, and that's preventing them from doing that? It's like I had a patient a couple months ago who had like a neck surgery, and she was like, I don't know if I want to do the neck surgery. I have these little kids I got to take care of, and my mom's sick, and I got nobody to take care of me for this, so that's kind of where she was at. So it really, that just helps me dive even further into the psyche of a patient, and then just realize kind of what avenues and areas that we need to address with education, and then kind of just showing like, hey, like, this is safe to do, and this is why.
Wow.
That's amazing. You guys, if you listen to that, and anybody listening to read that, those ABCs, we've learned that as, Dr. Raquel over there as being a licensed mental health counselor, myself as a licensed social worker, to bring that all, that's to me the best. You took the best of what the kind of psychology world and brought it right into the physical therapy field. And that, like I said to you, I agree with you when you're talking about, hey, out there's a lot of fear, and doctors push that, like they just are. But I love your approach, and like anybody else who's listening, medical wise or non, that's the type of person you work with. I don't care if it's from a physical therapist, chiropractor, social worker, nurse, whatever that is, to see the whole picture of a human being. And that is really admirable and respectful. We can have a whole show on what's missing, because I feel like that's lost. But, if anybody's in your area, I'm going to drop where they are, or people. I am so like, I wish I lived in Jersey. I'm in Florida. So if you have someone who's like you, that's friends like you, please drop me a line, because that's what I'm looking for. That's really the struggle out there, that someone who really cares about the people that they're taking care of. Like you said, nobody's coming to us, including us. If you were doing one-on-one work, we cannot fix, change, right? Whatever, we can give our best and try our best, but it is our job to see the whole patient. So I love it. And yeah, love it. Great.
Now, I don't, a lot of this stuff can kind of get more into like mental health professional type stuff. Now, I'm not certified in any way to do that type of thing. So I just kind of talk about this as it relates to physical therapy.
Yeah.
That also being said, I've made referrals to, I'm like, hey, listen, like, you're dealing with a lot. The stress is definitely amplifying some of these pains. Like, I think you would benefit from talking to a mental health care practitioner. And I've made countless referrals, on that too. And that's something to be said. And there's no shame in needing to go to therapy. It's like, I look at, somebody sprains their ankle. Yeah, that'll heal on its own, but patients come to physical therapy because we can help you get better quicker. And I make that same argument with somebody who might be resistive to going to, a behavioral health specialist. And I say, hey, listen, you're struggling with this stuff right now, and that's okay. It's okay. Like, that just means you're a human being. But I think by going to, a mental health professional, you can expedite the healing process in this way too, just like you came to me to try to expedite the healing process in this way. So.
Let me throw into that though, but the patient has to do some work.
Yeah.
you can't sit there and think, okay, I'm just going to get all better because, Dr. Andrews said, and he's doing no. And that's why when I go to the doctor, I diagnose. I'm one of those. I don't care what y'all say. I self-diagnose and I give a treatment. So I don't leave it all up to the doctor. I'm like, this is what's wrong with me. This is how we can treat it. Now I just need you to second that.
Yep.
And of course, my doctors are so used to me. They're like, yeah, okay, whatever. So Ellen said, some people define themselves by their ailments. It's very hard to try. The mental and physical become partners. Absolutely true. Even if it hurts, it's still the familiar reality. So Ellen has me now wanting to ask a question, not that she asked it, but what about those people that continually say it still hurts, it still hurts? Do you think they're getting something, whatever that something is, out of saying they're still in pain and they still need help?
So I always have the argument of, like, physical therapy is beneficial for everybody, for any condition that they have, because truthfully, like, you want to go more conservative before you go more of like that surgical type of route. So it's like, all right, well, let's give this a shot. Let's try this out. And if you're still in pain, go back to your referral source and, like, maybe discuss other treatment options, because we've exhausted kind of this avenue. But you can go into those other interventions that might be, more invasive, like injections or even surgeries, knowing that, hey, like, this would be the logical next step to address something like this. Now, I'm not saying everybody needs surgery. But, and in fact, I think that, us as Americans get more surgeries, especially on the spine, than, pretty much any other countries. And a lot of times you look at outcomes at like 2 years and they're like, oh yeah, they're not really that much different than if you were to just kind of do physical therapy, or stay active, or, do some of these, like, non-invasive type approaches. So that's kind of what I would say to them. And also, like, getting into that pain neuroscience stuff is, like, really, really getting into that. Like I said, that's a bit outside the scope to really get into all the nitty gritty aspects of, how cells, sensitize and kind of, different things like that. But I think that realistically, connecting the dots for a patient is like, okay, like, these are some of the behaviors that you've done that are not conducive to your condition. It's up to you on what do you want to do about them. Are you guys, I'm sure you are familiar with the trans-theoretical model of change, right? So we have pre-contemplative, and then contemplative, and then preparation, and then action, and then maintenance. Yep. So I look at a patient like, okay, where are they at in this model? Pre-contemplative is like, all right, yeah, like, I'm not thinking about this. I'm in pain, and I'm annoyed that I'm in pain. Contemplative is like, okay, like, I need to do something about this, right? And then preparation is like making an appointment to go to a doctor or a physical therapist. Action is going to those physical therapy appointments, right? But within that, you can even go to, like, at the education on what they're doing that's not conducive to this. Like, are you willing to change these activities? I understand you like to watch TV at the end of the day for 3 hours on your couch. However, your back is really hurting when you do that. So it's like, if I can move them kind of one notch with some of these more, like, stubborn patients who are stuck in their ways and stuck in kind of, these maladaptive behaviors, if I can move somebody one notch on that scale, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm kind of doing my job. I'm, like, planting the seed for, like, later on when, like, you hear this somewhere else and be like, okay, yeah, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to do this.
Andrew's here talking about me, y'all, but I'm not finding it funny at all. So I'm going to go to one of our listeners. I will share what he's talking about. Chrissy says, I think those people feel gaslighted by their doctors, especially women. It's all in your head. That's a whole other conversation about women and their doctors and how they're treated differently than men. But when Andrew was just talking about, and I probably have to shift real soon because I need to plug my charge up my phone. This is real talk. This is what we do. So I was one of those people, Andrew. I was doing stuff and I'm like, oh, my shoulder hurts. And I still kept doing what I was doing, kickboxing and axe throwing, all the craziness. And eventually I was like, all right, this is getting to a point where it's not right anymore for me. And then eventually I fought my doctor on PT for a little while. Then I went back. I was like, all right, so just give me the daggone referral or whatever I need to get to PT. And I'm in PT and I've been there, I don't know, for a couple of months. I think it's about to wrap up. And it honestly, guys, it's really and truly helped. I don't like PT. I'll be the first to say that. And I said it to Andrew. I understand the whole process. I understand it helps, but my goodness.
What don't you like
that
about
whole, it takes time out of my schedule.
Oh wait, I want to call her out on something. Hold it. Don't even answer yet.
Don't call me out.
I'm calling you out because this is real talk. Because
Raquel
says it takes right.
Can I finish answering his question?
Do the work.
Before you call me
do the
out?
work.
I did the work. I'm there. I'm doing it. It just took me a long time to do the work. But PT, I've been there more times than I actually ever thought I'd be. And what I don't like is it just takes time and out of my schedule. And the other reason I don't like PT is because some things actually hurt. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. And for me, it's the repetitive therapeutic techniques that are used. And I'm like, oh my gosh, can we change? And then it's like, no. And I'm like, oh, okay, not happy with that either. But that's me, guys. Absolutely. I know it helps. It's helped me. I'm able now, and I'm real transparent, I'm able to reach behind my back and unhook my bra like a normal woman instead of trying to figure out creative ways to get the heck out of this damn harness. So it helps if you want it to. That's what it comes down to.
It's funny you said like, oh, it takes time. Where were you doing the kickboxing classes at?
I'm not going to share that, but at a studio.
At a studio, so not at your house. That also took time, and your pain prevented you from going to that studio and doing that thing.
Thank you.
No, it didn't. I still kept going. Actually, I'll be honest with you. And Chrissy says, I like PT. All right, Chrissy, go ahead with that. I like PT. You're that student, right, Chrissy? I love you. But it took a long time for me to stop kickboxing, even while I was doing PT. Like my ortho and Elena, my amazing physical therapist, were like, I don't really think that's doing you any good. And I'm like, really? It feels great.
When did you start? When did you start kickboxing?
Ooh, it's been about 2 years.
And when did the pain start?
Anyway, I'm going to go on and no, it started probably, I think last September, to be honest with you. August, September, somewhere around there, I felt the pain. And I can't say that it's because of the kickboxing because I also was doing axe throwing. Even though I felt the pain in my shoulder, I was like, I'm going to play through this game. I got this. And I'm like dying. I'm one of those people. So
yeah, combination of both of those things. And going back to disc golf, when I first was like getting into disc golf, I was throwing, and I had some shoulder issues. I had some shoulder issues for a bit, and I had to stop playing disc golf for a bit, and I had to start strengthening in a range. I had to cut out all of the aggravating factors, and then I had, and so that was the action that I had to take. And then I started slowly like doing therapy on myself. And then slowly building back up and like, oh, now I don't have any pain. And some of the things, I think she popped off. She's probably just plugging in her computer. Or something.
Keep on going.
But I had to remove the aggravating factors. I had to strengthen what I needed to strengthen in a tolerable range. And then I slowly ramped that back up. And now I haven't had any pain in my shoulder for years. And I've just incorporated some of the exercises I should have been doing before as part of my warm-ups and stuff like that. And that's my maintenance phase right now, you know? So it gets to a point where, you know, you just say enough is enough. I got to do something about this. I got to make a change in my life. And then you just got to commit to it.
You gave that perfect example of what I'd say. It doesn't matter if it's PT or anything. The hardest, and Ellen had mentioned it earlier, like we get into these habits, right? We get into these habits where, you know, she had said, you know, something like, yes, validating the pain is important. It's respected. Absolutely. You know, it's that rewiring of our brain because if it hurts, it's still that familiar reality. You know, anything that really is meant to truly be better for ourselves, physical therapy, eating a certain way, eating clean, whatever that may be, really takes something. It's that grit, right, to have us grow. That's why it's called mental fortitude. It's not just grit, it's growth. And you can hear the excuses, right? Going to 2 years worth of kickboxing, you know, going to, like I said, playing disc golf. But then when somebody says, can't do that anymore, right? Can't do that anymore for a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
You'd go back quicker when you listened and did what you need to do. That's where the mental fortitude comes in about discipline. And I'll say many of us, and we all, anybody who's listening, whatever, we all have problems with discipline. But when we are disciplined and we know, yes, emotionally, it does not feel good to us. Emotionally, it does not feel good, right? We're like the kid who like wants the ice cream, who wants the stuff. It does make a difference. It really, really does make a difference.
Yeah, and
Well,
I think a big point in all of that is just being honest with yourself. You know what I mean? Like just being honest with where you're at. Like, you know, making the same decisions over and over again. It's like, all right, well, why did I do that? You know what I mean? It's like because that's comforting to me, or you know what I mean? Like it just be honest. If you really want to get to the bottom of why something's happening, why you're having this, you know, this pain, or why you're not making the changes that you know you need to make, you just got to be honest with yourself about why you're doing that. Like really thinking to yourself of like, okay, like let me get out of my own way a little bit because I am in my own way here.
awesome. Well, Raquel made it back in.
Just in
And
time.
yeah, it is perfect timing because we're going to wrap it up. It's over. Like,
So mentally, I wanted to be out of there. That's why my phone died. No.
well,
Just joking.
we had a good thing. Absolutely. So, Raquel will take it toward the end, but I do have a question. I have only information if people want to connect with you, and that's, you know, in general, if they want to connect with you, they can go onto your website. Is that what we got?
Yeah, the website. I'm not honestly huge into social media stuff. But yeah, you can always contact me via the website. I think my email is also on the website as well. Fernandez@strivephysicaltherapy.com. Any questions, any concerns about anything, you know, you could always reach out to me. If you have any questions about PT, you could always call the clinic too and ask for me. You know, I might have to call you back because I'm, you know, treating patients in there all the time, but, you know, happy to help.
That's awesome. All right, Raquel, you're on the
Andrew,
side.
I know I'm not moving. This is just my mental fortitude. Despite all of it, I'm still going through. Andrew, thank you so very much. This was eye-opening for not just Reg and I, but for our audience too. So I know they got something out of it. Chrissy, you know, 3:00, that liking PT stuff. But this is really educational. So I truly appreciate you taking time out. I know you were on vacation with family, just getting back. So appreciate you continuing to make the effort to join the show despite any setbacks that were coming up. So thank you so much. Don't get off when we're done. But ladies and gentlemen, you know how this works. You can't do it alone. Clearly, there are lots of people. You need a team. No matter what's going on with your life, it doesn't have to just be about PT. You need people around you, you need community. Because as we always say, together we can rise and thrive. Till next time.